All right, so today we're gonna kind of dive into this thing that, like, I think a lot of people have been thinking about. It's like that question in the back of your head
Right.
when you think, "What if AI takes over the world?"
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, kind of, but um, really, what we're going to be looking at today is this fear of AI.
Mm.
And we have this super interesting research study
Yes.
that we're going to be looking at today from the American Psychologist Journal. And they talked to 10,000 people
Wow.
across 20 countries
Okay.
about how comfortable they are with AI stepping into human roles.
It's not just like a general fear of AI, though, right?
Yeah.
This study really gets into like the nitty-gritty of like why people are afraid of AI doing certain jobs,
Right.
but not others.
Okay, so is there anything that really surprised you when you were looking at the research?
Absolutely. One of the things that jumped out at me was that fear of AI judges was consistently higher than other professions across all 20 countries.
Oh, wow.
There's something about AI wielding the gavel that really makes people nervous.
You know, that makes me think about all those sci-fi movies
Right.
where, AI is always like super cold and calculating.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe that's kind of like feeding into our fears about AI judges.
I mean, it's possible.
Hmm.
And this is where the mind role fit model comes into play.
Okay.
Essentially, the study found that people are more likely to be afraid of AI in roles where we expect a certain level of human warmth, empathy, and understanding.
So you're saying it's not just enough for an AI judge to just be intelligent and knowledgeable about the law, but they also need to have those like human qualities that we traditionally associate with good judgment.
Exactly. Think about it. You might be okay with an AI accountant,
Mhm.
crunching numbers
Right.
because you primarily value their competence and accuracy in that role.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to a judge making life-altering decisions, we really crave that human touch.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Totally. So I'm starting to see how this mind role fit idea worked.
Yeah.
Were there any other roles where people were like more afraid of AI stepping in?
Well, along with judges, people were also quite wary of AI doctors, religious leaders,
Oh, wow.
and therapists.
Interesting.
These are all professions where we expect a high degree of emotional intelligence, personalized care,
Right.
and the ability to connect with people on a deeper level.
It makes sense that we would be hesitant to hand over those responsibilities to machines, even if
Okay.
they are, super intelligent.
And the study actually found that the more human-like we perceive AI to be in a specific job, the less afraid we are of it.
Okay.
It really highlights the importance of like how our minds interpret the role of AI in different contexts.
So it's not just about AI being smart, it's about AI being human smart
Exactly.
in the right ways for the job.
Right. And interestingly, the study also found that people were much less concerned about AI taking over roles like journalists or financial analysts.
Why do you think that is? Is it because we see those jobs as being more data-driven and less reliant on human interaction?
That's certainly part of it. We tend to think of journalism as being about objectivity and detachment.
Hmm.
So the idea of an AI sifting through information and presenting the facts doesn't feel as threatening.
Okay, so we're okay with AI handling the cold, hard facts, but not so much the nuanced, human-centered aspects of certain professions.
Exactly. And this gets to another really interesting layer of the study, the cultural differences in how people perceive
Hmm.
AI.
Oh, yeah, I was reading about that they surveyed people from 20 different countries, right?
Yes.
What were some of the biggest cultural variations that they found?
Well, one of the most striking findings was the relatively low levels of fear in China, despite the country's massive investments in AI technology.
Wow.
This contrasts sharply with places like the United States and Saudi Arabia, which had some of the highest levels of AI fear.
So even though China is like an AI powerhouse,
Hmm.
its citizens are less worried about the robots taking over.
That's right.
That's fascinating.
It really is. And while the study doesn't give a definitive answer as to why this is, it does suggest that cultural values and norms play a significant role in shaping our perceptions of AI.
I'm really curious to hear more about those cultural differences. What are some of the values that might be contributing to these varying levels of fear?
Well, let's start with China.
Hmm.
They found that Chinese respondents tended to place less emphasis on those human-centered traits like warmth and sincerity when it came to evaluating AI in different roles.
So maybe in a culture that prioritizes like collective good and technological advancement, there's less concern about AI being warm and fuzzy and more focus on it like getting the job done effectively.
That's a very plausible explanation.
Hmm.
It suggests that different cultures may have different comfort zones when it comes to AI stepping into certain roles.
It seems like there's so much more to unpack here.
Yeah.
We've only just scratched the surface of how cultural differences might shape our relationship with AI.
Absolutely. And we haven't even touched on the ethical implications of these different cultural perspectives on AI development. It's a very complex and ever-evolving landscape.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. We'll have to dig into those cultural variations and ethical considerations a bit later.
I'm looking forward to it.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to one of those professions that sparked a lot of fear, AI judges.
Yeah.
You mentioned that something about AI wielding the gavel really makes people uneasy.
Yes. And the study shed some light on why that might be. It seems that people are deeply concerned about AI's ability to replicate those crucial human qualities that we associate with good judgment.
Like fairness, empathy, and wisdom.
Precisely.
Those qualities that are hard to define,
Yeah.
but essential for making just decisions.
Precisely. And remember, we're not just talking about legal expertise here.
Right.
We're talking about the ability to understand the nuances of human behavior, to weigh the complexities of each case,
Yeah.
and to deliver verdicts that are both legally sound and morally justifiable.
It's a tall order even for human judges. So it makes sense that we'd be hesitant to hand over that responsibility to machines, especially when we're talking about decisions that could have life-altering consequences.
Exactly. And it's important to note that the study's authors acknowledge that they might be underestimating the fear of AI judges.
Oh, really?
There are likely other factors at play here beyond those 8 psychological traits that they focused on.
What kind of factors are you thinking of?
Well, historical context, legal traditions, religious beliefs, all of these could be influencing people's anxieties about AI judges.
It's like the fear is rooted not just in our individual psychology, but also in our shared cultural and societal frameworks.
Right.
It's a much bigger conversation than just can AI be as smart as a human judge?
Exactly. It's about, can AI navigate the complexities of human justice in a way that feels fair, ethical, and aligned with our deeply held values?
That's a really weighty question, and it leads us to another key point from the study. A one-size-fits-all approach to AI simply doesn't work. Different cultures have different psychological expectations for various professions. What makes people comfortable with AI in one culture might not translate to another.
Right. Think about it this way. In some cultures, people might prioritize efficiency and impartiality above all else, even in the legal system.
Okay.
In those cultures, the idea of an AI judge that's free from human bias might actually be appealing.
But in other cultures where there's a stronger emphasis on compassion and individualized justice, the idea of an AI judge might feel cold and impersonal.
Exactly. And these cultural differences have huge implications for how AI is developed and deployed around the world.
It's like we need to be thinking about AI design, not just from a technological perspective, but also from a deeply human and cultural one.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this field so fascinating. It's pushing us to re-examine our own values, our assumptions about what it means to be human, and our expectations for how technology should fit into our lives.
Well, I don't know about you, but my brain is buzzing with all sorts of thoughts and questions right now.
Me too.
This deep dive has definitely sparked my curiosity.
Mine too, and this is just the beginning. There's a whole world of research, ethical debates, and real-world applications to explore when it comes to AI and its impact on society.
I can't wait to delve deeper. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back and consider the limitations of this particular study.
Right. It's crucial to remember that no single study can capture the full picture.
What are some of the key things we need to keep in mind when interpreting these findings?
Well, for starters, the study focused on potentially controversial occupations, those roles where human connection and judgment are paramount.
Okay.
They didn't look at, say, AI taking over data entry jobs or factory work.
So the fear levels might look different if they had studied a wider range of occupations.
It's certainly possible, and they also didn't account for other factors that could influence AI fear, like job displacement.
That's a huge one, right?
Well,
A lot of people are understandably concerned about AI automating jobs and leaving them without work.
absolutely. That anxiety, though valid, wasn't directly measured in this study.
So while the mind role fit model offers a really compelling framework for understanding AI fear, it's important to keep those limitations in mind and acknowledge that there's still much more to explore and understand about how we as a society are reacting to the rise of AI.
And that's what makes this field so exciting. It's constantly evolving, and there's always more to learn. This study is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
It really makes you wonder what other anxieties might be shaping our reactions to AI beyond, those psychological traits they studied.
Like pop culture could even be playing a role.
Oh, yeah.
All those sci-fi movies with robots taking over the world,
Right.
those narratives definitely seep into our collective consciousness.
It's true. Maybe we're all a little bit primed to fear the robot uprising,
Right.
even if we don't consciously admit it.
Speaking of cultural influences, let's go back to that finding about China. You
Oh.
know, they're leading the charge in AI development, but their citizens seem remarkably comfortable with it.
Okay, yeah, help me understand this. Why is it that China, a country so deeply invested in AI, shows such low levels of fear compared to, say, the US?
Well, remember those 8 psychological traits that the study looked at? It turns out those traits weren't valued equally across all the cultures.
You're talking about warmth, sincerity,
Yeah.
tolerance, fairness, all of that.
Right. The study found that Chinese respondents placed less emphasis on some of those traits,
Okay.
particularly warmth and sincerity, compared to respondents from other countries.
So maybe in a culture that really prioritizes collective good and technological progress, there's less concern about AI being, warm and fuzzy and more focus on its competence and efficiency.
Yeah, that's one possible interpretation, and it really underscores how much our values and cultural norms shape our perceptions of AI.
Right.
It's not just about the technology itself, but about how that technology fits into our existing worldview.
It also makes you wonder if those cultural differences might influence how AI is developed and deployed in different parts of the world.
Absolutely, if certain cultures are less concerned about, say, AI's ability to express empathy, will that lead to AI systems that are more task-oriented and less focused on those, like, softer human qualities?
It raises a lot of questions about the future of AI development. Are we headed towards a world where AI reflects the values of its creators, even if those values differ across cultures?
That's a fascinating and, frankly, crucial question to consider. And it leads us to another interesting contrast that emerged from the study, AI judges versus AI journalists.
Yeah, I was really struck by that finding AI judges elicited the most fear across the board,
Yeah,
while AI journalists barely registered a blip on the fear radar.
I think that contrast speaks volumes about the different levels of trust we place in different professions.
Hmm.
We have certain expectations for journalists, a degree of objectivity, a focus on presenting facts
Right.
that might make us more comfortable with the idea of an AI taking on that role.
Yeah, it's like we're okay with an AI sifting through data and generating news reports as long as it sticks to the facts. But when it comes to judges, we want more than just like an unbiased analysis of the law.
Yeah.
We want empathy, wisdom, a deep understanding of the human condition.
Exactly. And it raises questions about the role of creativity and intuition in journalism, too.
Yeah.
Even if AI can write grammatically perfect news articles, there might still be a sense that it's missing that spark of human insight, that ability to connect with readers on an emotional level.
And maybe that's what makes us less afraid of AI journalists.
Mm.
It feels like there's still a distinct human element that AI, at least for now, can't quite grasp.
Yeah, it's a compelling point. But it's worth noting that even within journalism, cultural nuances are likely at play.
Oh, for sure.
What one culture values in its journalists might differ from another.
Definitely some cultures might prioritize a more formal, detached style of reporting, while others might value a more opinionated or even like activist approach to journalism.
And those cultural differences could influence how comfortable people feel with AI stepping into those roles.
So if we're thinking about designing AI for journalism, we need to consider not just the technical aspects of news gathering and reporting,
Right.
but also the cultural values and expectations surrounding journalism in different parts of the world.
Exactly. It's all about context.
Yeah.
We can't just assume that a one-size-fits-all approach to AI will work in every situation.
Yeah.
We need to be sensitive to those cultural nuances and design AI systems that are aligned with the specific needs and values of the communities they're meant to serve.
This conversation's giving me so much to think about. It seems like every time we peel back a layer of this AI onion,
Yeah.
we find even more complexity and nuance.
It's true. That's what makes it so fascinating. But before we get too lost in the theoretical,
Yeah.
let's bring it back to some key takeaways for our listener.
Okay.
What are the most important points they should walk away from this deep dive with?
Well, first and foremost, I think this study really highlights the importance of understanding the psychology behind AI fear. It's not just about irrational anxieties or sci-fi tropes. It's about a deep-seated need for AI to align with our values, our expectations, and our understanding of what makes us human.
I completely agree. And building on that, it's crucial to recognize that these fears and expectations aren't universal.
Right.
They vary widely across cultures, which means we need to approach AI development and deployment with a much more nuanced and culturally sensitive lens.
Yeah, we can't just assume that what works in Silicon Valley will work in Tokyo or Dubai.
Exactly.
We need to be thinking about the human and cultural implications of AI every step of the way.
Precisely, we need to ask ourselves, what values are we embedding in these systems? How might those values be perceived and interpreted in different cultural contexts?
Yeah.
And how can we mitigate the anxieties that people understandably have about AI disrupting their lives and livelihoods?
It's not just about developing AI responsibly. It's about communicating transparently, addressing those fears head on, and ensuring that AI is used in a way that benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
Absolutely. This is a conversation that needs to involve everyone, not just tech experts and policymakers.
Yep.
We need to be having these discussions at our communities, our schools, our workplaces, everywhere.
It feels like we're at a critical juncture in our relationship with AI. We have the power to shape the future of this technology,
You?
but we need to do it thoughtfully, ethically, and with a deep understanding of the human factors at play.
I couldn't agree more. And this study provides us with a valuable framework for thinking about those human factors. It's not a complete roadmap, but it's a crucial starting point for navigating this complex and ever-evolving landscape.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the mind role fit model, the surprising low fear levels in China, the stark contrast between AI judges and journalists, and the importance of considering cultural nuances in AI development. What else is out there? What should we be paying attention to?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is the evolving nature of AI itself. This study focused on existing anxieties and perceptions.
Hmm.
But what happens as AI becomes even more sophisticated? Will our fears evolve along with the technology?
That's a good point. What seems unsettling today might become commonplace tomorrow and vice versa.
Exactly.
We need to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions.
Absolutely. This isn't a one-and-done conversation. It's an ongoing process of learning, adapting, and shaping the future of AI in a way that aligns with our values and aspirations as a species.
We can't just passively observe as AI transforms the world around us.
Yeah.
We need to be active participants in shaping that transformation.
Well said. And I think that starts with awareness, understanding the psychology behind our fears, recognizing the cultural factors at play, and being willing to engage in these critical conversations.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to ponder.
Me too.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of a much larger discussion about AI and its impact on humanity. But for now, I think we've given our listener a solid foundation for understanding the complex interplay between technology, psychology, and culture.
I agree, and I hope this deep dive has sparked some new insights and questions for our listener as well. This is a journey we're all on together, figuring out how to navigate this incredible new world of AI.
It feels like we're at this incredible turning point where we've got this powerful technology, but it's also raising all these questions about who we are as humans and what
Yeah.
we value.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
AI is really forcing us to confront some fundamental questions about humanity. What does it mean to be human in an age of intelligent machines? What are the qualities that we cherish most? And how do we ensure that those qualities are reflected in the AI systems that we create?
It makes me think back to those 8 psychological traits
Right.
that were so central to this study, warmth, sincerity, tolerance, fairness, all of that.
Yeah.
It's like AI is holding up a mirror to ourselves and asking us to define what matters most.
It really is a fascinating exercise. And it's not just about, you know, abstract philosophical debates.
Right.
These questions have very real implications for how we design, regulate, and interact with AI
Yeah.
in our everyday lives.
So, for example, if we decide that empathy is a crucial trait that we want to see in AI doctors,
Right.
how do we actually build that into an algorithm? Is it even possible to truly replicate human empathy in a machine?
That is the million-dollar question right now.
Right.
And it's a question that researchers, ethicists, and engineers are all grappling with. And the answer might not be a simple yes or no,
Right.
It might involve rethinking our very definition of empathy, or maybe finding ways to create AI systems that complement human empathy
Yeah.
rather than trying to replace it entirely.
It's like AI is pushing us to expand our understanding of what's possible, not just technologically, but also humanly.
I think that's a really good way to put it. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
AI is learning from us, but we're also learning from AI.
Mm.
It's challenging our assumptions, forcing us to be more introspective, and prompting us to really think deeply about what kind of future we want to build.
It's exciting, but it's also a little daunting, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We have this incredible power to shape the future with AI,
Yes.
but we also have this huge responsibility to use that power wisely.
100%. And I think that responsibility starts with recognizing that AI isn't some separate alien entity.
Hmm.
It's a product of human ingenuity.
Mm.
It's shaped by our values, our biases, and our aspirations.
Yeah, we can't just sit back and wait to see what happens with AI.
Yeah,
We need to be actively involved in shaping its development, guiding its trajectory, and ensuring that it serves humanity, not the other way around.
I completely agree. And that involves having those difficult conversations, asking those uncomfortable questions,
Mm.
and being willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Right.
It's not always easy, but it's absolutely essential.
So where do we go from here? What are some practical steps that we can take to make sure that AI is developed and used responsibly?
Well, I think first and foremost, education is key.
Okay.
We need to ensure that everyone, not just tech specialists, have at least a basic understanding of AI, like how it works, its potential benefits, and its potential risks.
Yeah, the more people understand about AI, the more empowered they'll be to really engage in these conversations and make informed decisions about its role in society.
Absolutely. And beyond education, I think we also need robust ethical guidelines and regulations for AI development and deployment.
Okay.
We really need to be thinking about things like data privacy, algorithmic bias, and accountability.
So it's kind of like building guardrails for AI, making sure that it operates within boundaries that protect human rights and promote social good.
Yes, exactly. And those guardrails need to be flexible enough to adapt as AI continues to evolve,
Right.
but also strong enough to prevent those unintended
It
consequences.
is a delicate balance, but it's so crucial to get it right.
It really is.
Yep.
And I think another essential element is fostering collaboration and dialogue among all the different stakeholders.
Yeah.
We need to bring together experts from all different fields like technology, ethics law,
Hmm.
social sciences, the arts.
It's about breaking down those silos and recognizing that AI is a multifaceted issue that requires a holistic approach.
Exactly. And that also includes involving the public in these conversations.
Yeah.
AI will impact all of us, so everyone should have a voice in shaping its future.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening for me.
It has for me too.
It's so clear that AI is not just a technological challenge, it's a human challenge.
Mhm.
It's forcing us to confront some really fundamental questions about our values, and like our place in the world.
It's exhilarating and a little bit terrifying at the same time.
Right.
But I am optimistic. I really think that by engaging in these conversations thoughtfully and collaboratively, we can harness the power of AI for good and create a future where technology empowers humanity rather than diminishes it.
I love that. And for our listeners out there, remember, this conversation doesn't end here. Keep asking those tough questions. Stay curious and be an active participant in shaping the future of AI. After all, it's a future we'll all be sharing.
And as always, we would love to hear your thoughts and insights on this fascinating and ever-evolving topic. Feel free to reach out to us on social media or through our website.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.